Have you noticed that the more you make yourself available, the more invisible you become? You answer every message. You rush to fix every problem. You stretch yourself thin to prove you care, and yet the more you give, the less you are valued. Then one day, something inside you whispers, "Stop performing availability. Withdraw, not to be noticed, but to notice yourself again." This is not a test to see who reaches out. It is a return, a quiet homecoming to your own presence. Because the truth is, when you stop trying to prove you matter, you finally begin to feel that you do. And that moment, if you listen to it, changes everything. As always, by the end of this video, I will share a set of soul keys that can help you disappear from the noise and quietly transform your life from the inside out. These keys are not theories. They are sacred practices drawn from lived experience, and they may change the way you see yourself forever. So stay with me and let us begin. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, it grows." And for many of us, what we resist most deeply is emptiness. We fill every moment with connection, approval, productivity, anything but stillness. But constant accessibility is not love. It is fear wearing the mask of compassion. Fear that if you are not seen, you will be forgotten. Fear that silence means rejection, so you keep showing up. You keep saying yes, and each time you do, a small piece of your energy quietly slips away. Each yes buys a moment of belonging. Each no feels like exile. And so we lose ourselves, not because others take from us, but because we keep offering what was never properly asked for. From childhood, we are taught to earn love through service. Be the good child, the reliable friend, the helpful one. It feels noble. Until one day you realize you are trading authenticity for approval. You have felt it, the fatigue at the edge of conversations that go nowhere, the invisible heaviness of being on call for everyone's emotions, the quiet resentment that blooms in your chest when you realize you have once again ignored your own needs. That ache is not weakness. It is your soul whispering that your energy is leaking. Every time you make yourself endlessly available, you hand someone the remote control to your nervous system. People learn your patterns, that you will respond, that you will rescue, that you will soften the silence, and they rely on it, not always consciously but energetically. Jung said that relationships are mirrors of the unconscious. If your hidden script says, "I must be needed to be loved," you will keep attracting people who need you but never truly see you. And that is why, when you finally withdraw, the illusion shatters. The play ends when you leave the stage. For years, I made myself available for everything. I was that person answering the 2 a.m. call from a friend in tears, the one opening the door for friends to cry on my couch, the one who validated every feeling even when I was falling apart. I thought that was love. That was what a good person did. But when I began turning inward, choosing stillness instead of reaction, solitude instead of noise, something unexpected happened. The very people who once said they cared for me began to unravel. Some grew distant. Some grew angry. Even family seemed unsettled, as if my peace was an act of rebellion. And that is when it hit me. They had not loved me. They had loved the version of me that was quiet, agreeable, endlessly available. The one who never said no. The one who made them feel good by always validating their feelings, even when it drained me to empty. When I stopped playing that role, when I stopped performing availability, the illusion shattered. It was heartbreaking. But it was also the moment I woke up. I realized how many people were attached not to my soul but to my service. That realization broke my heart open, but it also set me free. It showed me how much of my life I had spent buying belonging with self-betrayal. I had trained the world to love my silence, not my truth. And the moment I started choosing myself, the moment I began saying no, I saw who truly valued me, and who only valued their reflection in my presence. In that shattering, I found freedom. That is the strange thing about energy. When you withdraw it, the truth reveals itself. The moment you stop reacting, the game collapses. Because when you stop reacting, you stop feeding other people's projections. Your silence becomes a mirror. And suddenly, those who thrived on your compliance are forced to face the emptiness they were avoiding. They panic, they project, they provoke. Not because you have done wrong, but because they can no longer control what they cannot predict. Your stillness exposes the imbalance, and that is when you realize your energy is no longer currency, it is sovereignty. Disappearing is not about running away. It is about stepping off the stage so your soul can breathe backstage. Jung called it individuation, withdrawing projections to reclaim your own energy. Alan Watts described it as the rhythm of existence. Everything that expands must contract. Everything that appears must retreat. The tide pulls back before it returns full. The seed disappears underground before it becomes a forest. So it is with you. To transform, you must retreat. Silence threatens the ego. It cannot measure worth without witnesses. That is why disappearing feels like dying, because the part of you that lived for applause is finally being buried. Yet beneath that funeral is a birth. In stillness, your nervous system remembers peace. You begin to hear the voice that was always there, your own. And the world, unable to control what it can no longer predict, calls you distant, selfish, changed. But they are only describing what they can no longer use. Jung saw the psyche as a closed energy system. Every thought, emotion, and reaction consumes power. If you spend that energy on defending, fixing, and proving, you will have none left to create or to love. People who live exhausted are not weak. They are misdirected. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It is sacred work. It is how you keep your inner fire for illumination, not combustion. To stop being endlessly available is not to turn your back on the world. It is to turn toward balance. Selective availability means saying yes when your heart is full and no when it is not. It is answering when presence feels genuine and resting when it does not. You are not a machine. You are rhythm itself. The sun does not apologize for setting. The tide does not explain why it recedes. You owe no apology for needing space. And once you begin living this way, something miraculous happens. You start creating a sacred gap between who you once were and who you are becoming. That space is not emptiness. It is transformation in disguise. When you stop performing availability, you begin preparing for renewal. And this is where we move from the outer work of boundaries to the inner work of secret transformation. Because it is not enough to stop being available to others. You must also learn how to disappear within yourself. To dissolve the old identity in silence and let a new self quietly be born. Disappearing does not mean erasing yourself. It means moving from noise to nuance, from performing to becoming. Now I want you to listen closely, because here comes this episode's soul key insights. Practical steps you can follow to allow your transformation to unfold in silence. These keys are drawn directly from my own lived experience, from the moments I learned how to disappear and secretly transform myself from within. Now, let us begin unlocking them one by one. Soul key number 1. Stop broadcasting your becoming. Transformation loses its power when it is narrated. Every time you announce your plans, you invite opinions that dilute them. Growth needs privacy, not applause. Keep your evolution sacred until it stabilizes. This protects your inner frequency, which, as we discussed in the last episode, shapes the very reality that mirrors back to you. Soul key number 2. Enter what I call the quiet chamber. Each day, retreat into silence. No phone, no validation, no noise. Even 5 minutes is enough to begin. This is where your nervous system relearns safety. The outer world stops defining your worth and your inner world begins to lead. Soul key number 3. Audit your availability. Write down where your energy leaks. Notice who drains you. What conversations leave you hollow. What obligations you fulfill out of guilt. Then start saying not now. You do not have to vanish. Just pause. Every pause is an act of reclaiming energy. A quiet declaration that your time and presence are sacred. Soul key number 4. Let yourself be misunderstood. This is the hardest one. When you stop feeding old dynamics, those who depended on your compliance will protest. They will say you have changed. And you have stopped being fuel for dysfunction. Hold your silence. Do not explain your healing to those committed to misunderstanding it. Remember that clarity does not always require explanation. Soul key number 5. Transform in secret. In this silence, start building. Study, meditate, journal, move, dream. Create without telling anyone. Because when energy is not spent explaining, it crystallizes into power. When you re-emerge, you will not need to announce your change. Your presence will speak for itself. These are the soul keys of disappearing. Privacy, presence, discernment, stillness, sovereignty. Together, they open the door to the higher frequency, where transformation happens quietly, naturally, and without resistance. When you disappear into yourself, you rediscover wholeness. You remember that peace is not the absence of people, it is the presence of your own soul. Love given from emptiness is exhaustion. Love given from fullness is freedom. The more whole you become, the less you perform, and the less you perform, the more authentic your connections grow. So if life is calling you inward, do not resist. Disappear, not to escape, but to transform. See you next time.